Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1335.
We always have the opportunity to excel.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest, Airkooled Kustoms. But I like to call him Spook, just like all of his friends. We're going to learn about that in a minute. Hey, Spook, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
In a 3-point harness with about 200 horsepower and a 1,700-pound car.
Whoa, here we go. Spook LeClair is what happens when you cross an engineer with an artist. A vintage steel restoration guru with a passion for paint, Spook dreamed of Airkooled Kustoms long before opening the shop, located in Hazel Green, in 2004. The mastermind behind the proprietary processes that yield Darkside dubs that Volkswagen and Porsche enthusiasts drool about. Spook doesn't do anything halfway. Raised in California and transplanted to Alabama, he doesn't exactly blend in, but he's a very adaptable fellow. We're also going to talk about a new book that he has out right now titled How to Restore Your Volkswagen Beetle. Where were you back when I was in high school trying to restore my sister's car? So Spook, I've told our listeners just a little bit about you. Would you take a brief moment and share a little bit more about your business and a very obvious passion that you have for automobiles?
Thanks very much for having me on your show. I very much enjoy it. Hope your listeners can actually get a little bit of what we do and how we do it. And it's definitely a passion. It's not something that you wake up every day dreading to go to work. I mean, Mondays for me are just another day, just like another Saturday or a Sunday. If I've got something to paint or something metal to beat on or something to create, I'm out there doing it. So, I don't live Monday through Friday just working for the weekends. The only way I actually know what day it is on any given day is by which staff members are in. So it's kind of odd. I know if I've got this many staff members on or these people are in on this day, I said, oh, it must be Tuesday or, something like that. It's definitely, if you can pursue your passions and get paid to do it, and do it.
Absolutely. Well, that's what Cars Yeah is all about, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, people who've wrapped their passion for cars, trucks, and bikes into their lives and careers. You've discovered the secret sauce to life, just like the past 1,334 people here on Cars Yeah before you. So we're going to learn a lot more about you and what you're doing there as we continue on your journey. But first, I want to start with a success quote or a mantra. That's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So Spook, take the wheel.
There's a couple of them I've got. I think the primary one is we always have the opportunity to excel. And what we mean by that is any mistake, issue, problem, puzzle, and that's mainly how I look at what we're doing on diagnostic work is puzzles. What's the problem here? How do we fix it? How do we get around it? You always have the opportunity to excel. The second one I've got, and I stick pretty close to, is you can beat procrastination with time travel. And that's a rough one for a lot of people to get their brains wrapped around.
Yeah, you need to help me with this one a little bit.
Well, if you ever find yourself procrastinating on something, it's not necessarily that you don't want to do it. You just haven't figured out how you can do it. You haven't figured out the process. You haven't figured out, and it makes you very uncomfortable. And if you're not going towards your uncomfortable zone, you're never going to grow. You're also going to spend all that time worrying about something you haven't done yet or how you're going to do it. So instead of worrying about it, dive right in, go do it, and you're going to end up losing track of time. There's a reason in Vegas that there's no clocks. And it's because they want you to spend more money, but that same logic actually applies within the shop. We don't have clocks in the shop. There's no in and out. There's no time clocks. There's no wall clocks. There's none of that. In fact, my own personal house, there are no clocks in my house. There's an internal thing. So it's like if you see yourself watching it at the clock, and the only time I have to set alarms to do interviews or client meetings or stuff like that on my phone, which is a blessing. But other than that, I eat when I'm hungry. I go to bed when I'm tired. I have a beer when I'm thirsty. I go out and ride my car when I need to go ride my car. It's kind of one of those. I don't dictate myself to a clock any longer. I refuse to do that. So those are my two main mantras. I've got a couple smaller ones that we'll get into later. But those are my two main ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. It's funny because when I've gone on vacations, one of my rules is to not have a watch or a clock. Now, I stopped wearing a watch a long time ago just because, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. But I love the fact that when you're on vacation, you don't have to worry about time, but you figured out how to, in a way, be on vacation all day, every day, all week
Pretty
long.
much, yeah. I mean, I still got to do some stuff, and there's some clients that I really don't like dealing with, or I have a hard time, and I kind of dread that. But that gets back to that time travel and procrastination. Instead of like really worrying about it and getting my own internals into an uproar, and then just going ahead and dealing, and everything's going to be fine. Just dealing with it and come what may, and go from there.
There you go. Nice way to go through life. Well, I want you to share a story that instigated your personal passion with cars. Is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were indeed a car guy?
I can actually trace this back to before I can remember. So when I'm the eldest of five biological children, 6 total in our clan. And being the eldest, my sister was about 18 months behind me, which was the second child. But by that time, I was already playing with toys and stuff like that. My mom tells me, even to this day, back when I was a kid, I would want to go play with my Volkswagens, trucks, and cars in that order.
Nice.
And my dad was actually in the amateur radio when I was growing up, so he would build radios and stuff like that. And to me, the process of taking a pile of parts and putting it together was just fascinating. How do you make an inanimate object work like it's supposed to? So I think the first time I really got into a car, and my dad is not a car guy. He appreciates them, but he's just not a car guy. He had this Chevy van that we had gotten before we had gotten our first Volkswagen. And I was probably about 5, so I was insistent going out and wash it. And I wanted that thing so clean to the point where I was actually washing the inside of the muffler. And my dad was, kind of a little bit mad at me. And the next time I actually took apart part of the dash on a VW van that we had bought in the next year just to see how something worked. And, I got something fixed. And I was probably about 6, and I had fixed an ignition switch, and I didn't even know it. It's kind of one of those things that are like, it's been it's been part of my hobby, part of my being for so long that I can't remember not being a car guy. I built my first Volkswagen by the time I was 13 years old and sold it. So, and I was building suspensions for these cars before I even turned 16. It's like, I did the normal job thing, and kept and maintained as a hobby. But for the most part, when I get off work, that's where I went. I went into the garage. Both my sons growing up spent a lot of time in the garage with me.
Well, there's where we all started. Well, I would like to talk about a big challenge or even a failure you faced. More importantly, after you tell me about that situation, what did you learn from it? So kind of walk us through that situation and tell us how that experience helped you gain even more momentum as you move forward in your career and your business and your life.
Well, I've been actually struggling with that one since you asked the original question in the interview sheet. And being that I'm fairly happy-go-lucky guy, I really haven't had any big challenges in my life other than good friends, going to heaven. I had a business partner and manager of the shop that died about 2.5 years ago. And that's quite all right. He was in poor health and had a lot of system failures, but he was basically my brother. I helped, his kids. I watched his kids grow up. I would go to their school. I was on the list for the local school that if there was a problem, couldn't get a hold of dad, get a hold of their uncle. So him and I were very, very, very close. And after he passed, there were a lot of stuff within the business side that he was handling that wasn't quite what I wanted. So we had to go in and do a lot of fixes. And some of it, he was promising product to clients at a below market value or less than what we could actually charge to do it. That became very apparent about the second year into it. And so that challenge of taking back over the business side, because most of the time I would actually do the vision of the company, I do the marketing, I do the paint, I do the body, I do the stuff that I'm really good at. And I would leave all the other stuff to people who are really good at what they do, because I always want people to work in their strengths. I never want somebody to work in their weaknesses. So with that philosophy, I learned a few things that sometimes you really have to do the sucky stuff in business in order to succeed. And I've gotten better at it. I'm not really good at talking with clients, or at least I didn't used to be. I kind of a joke. I am the world's worst salesman. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm here to provide a need. If we can help you out, I'm more than happy to build a car for you if you and I get along. If you and I don't get along, I will not be working for you. It's that simple. But with him passing and me having to take over the sucky side, that really has helped me excel within this last couple of years, just in the growth of the company and my own personal growth. Because all of a sudden I had to be the salesman. I had to be the face of the company. I had to be, I couldn't be the obnoxious, 6'3" white guy in the middle of Alabama that's named Spook. There's no filter. There's no harm is what my staff tells me. There's no internal filter inside of my brain. I will say things that people really shouldn't say or ask questions, but everybody's thinking it. So I don't see anything wrong with it until I see like jaws drop. So,
oh
there's there's never any malice behind anything I say, ever.
Yeah, just direct, blunt.
It's part of the way I'm wired. But in losing such a valuable team member, it got me to the grasp of doing the sucky stuff and getting pretty decent at it. It's like, I'm not great at it, but I can do it. So that was a pretty big challenge. And then right after that, I went through a low-level depression. And
was it because of that loss of your friend?
It was part of that, but part of it was like I just wasn't sure if I wanted to continue doing this. Because I'd been doing this professionally for almost 13 years at that point. It starts to wear on you after a while. So I went through this period of about 6 months where I would, come in, show up, do my gig, but I really wasn't myself. I was very, very thankful to have the staff that I've got that helped me through this. And I've always been really upfront and honest with these people. I mean, most of them are my friends. So it's like, we kind of say we have staff members. We don't have employees. We don't have customers. We've got clients. There's a difference. There's a relationship there. So with my staff, they were gracious enough to help me through a lot of this. And it also told me who had my back and who you could trust. Because it's like, you want to trust everybody, but not everybody is your friend. That was kind of one of the biggest growth cycles that I saw. We actually increased our bookings probably 50% over this year. We're approaching $1 million cap for the company at this point.
Nice. Well,
not bad for a restoration company.
No, not bad at all. Well, I appreciate you taking us there through a really challenging time. Certainly, you learned an awful lot of things, and there's some things and lessons there we can share with others listening out there about businesses. If you've got a business partner, find out exactly what they're up to, what they're doing. And I always say, and I ran a large company with 100 people in it, and I used to have a saying, what if you got hit by a bus? What will we do tomorrow? Meaning, if you put too much reliance on one individual within a company and you lost that person the next day, what effect would that have? Do you have anything in place to protect yourself from that in some capacity? And I know it's impossible to do all the time, especially with the small company, but it's important at least to know what they're doing and where things are and where you can find them. So,
but then also part of that takeaway is everybody has to be replaceable, even though you never want to replace anybody, including the company founder and the CEO. And it's like, I've already come to the realization I'm replaceable. The company will change at some point. I'm not going to live forever, but, people need to remember that even following their passion and stuff, at some point you're going to die. You better have an exit strategy. Otherwise, you got other stuff that you need to deal with.
Yeah. And have things in place to help those around you, your loved ones and so forth, all those things, wills and where things are located. And we learn this when we start to lose friends and family when they don't have things in order, and how difficult it is for your friends and family to figure everything out. So take the time to do that.
And I don't mean to go dark on it, but I mean, that was my biggest challenge, and it had to do with that is, relying on someone else and then losing that very valuable person.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking us there. Let's go to somewhere a little more bright and sunny and talk about your first really special vehicle and maybe a memory you have about that ride.
Oh, Lord. It would probably be the first vehicle I ever owned, which was a 1971 Yamaha Enduro.
Oh, cool.
And it was, air-cooled, 2-stroke. And I lived out in the country, and went to school in town. And so about 2 miles in, bought it with paper route money. Not that anybody does a paper route anymore.
Yeah, I had one of those.
and barely kept that thing running. And I think the reason that I love it so much is just because of that freedom, just getting on your bike and going. Currently, I actually have people ask me, it's like, what's the favorite car you've ever built? That's actually one that really I get asked a lot. And my answer is always the same, the next one that I'm building. So I'm one of these people that I'll build it in my head before anything happens. So it's in my head, it's done, then I just got to put it in 3D.
Yeah. So that was like was that a 175?
Yeah, a little 175.
Yeah. I remember those bikes. I rode one of those bikes. They're cool.
I enjoyed it. It's street legal. We could run from the cops, and my dad was a cop, so I couldn't run really too far because they knew who I was.
Couldn't run too far. There was always a cop at home.
So that was probably my favorite. My second probably favorite car, and this is my adult favorite car, was probably a 1977 Jeep Cherokee 3-door.
Oh,
so
3-door.
Yeah, so it had the two front doors and then it had the rear door, and that was it. It had the sliding black glass, and it wasn't a Wagoneer, it was a Cherokee. So full-time four-wheel drive. That thing would move a house, climb a tree at 80 miles an hour. Rusted piece of stuff. I couldn't get gas in it to save me because the vent tube had gone bad. Occasionally, one of the power steering lines would crystallize, so I only have power steering on one side. But as far as a beater truck, that's one I really wish I would have kept. I mean, you could see it was a Fred Flintstone mobile too, but
it had some holes in the floor.
Oh yeah, it's like, but I could do anything with that car, and I didn't have to worry about the scratching it or anything. It's just and it went forever. So those have got to be my two favorite cars from my youth. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, that Jeep Cherokee 3-door, kind of, old SUV basically, but the fact that it just had two doors, it was kind of a coupe, but it was still a wagon style, made it very, very cool. How about seller's remorse? Is there a vehicle you've let go in your life that you really wish you'd kept?
The first VW van that was ever given to me was actually given to me by my uncle and aunt. And we had grown up with that van. It was a 1972 tin top, and it had a 2275 engine. And if you don't know anything about VWs, that's in CCs. Originally, that bus came with a 1500 or 1600 cc motor. So we about doubled the horsepower on that motor. And I had gotten to a point in my life where I was just kind of getting kind of tired of building cars and maintaining old ones. And it's like I ended up buying a newer vehicle off a lot. Worst thing I ever did. And, oh God, never buy a new vehicle. Ever, 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 ever. But I ended up selling it on a website that's actually still around now, thesamba.com. It's a little bit of a plug for you VW guys.
I love the Samba. It's cool.
Yeah, if you see a guy named Elder Spook on the boards, that's me.
That's you.
That's me. I ended up putting it up on the Samba, and I sold it for $4 or $5,000, which is probably the cost of the engine at this point. And it went up to Alaska. I have never been able to find that car since. I've actually put out, I have friends in Alaska. It's like there's VW spotting sites now, but I have yet. If I could find that 72 again, I would buy it back, go up there, and then, haul it back here. That's one I really wish I would have kept. Probably the other one I really wish I kept was a 1964 Newport 4-door Post hardtop. So it's like I'm that type of car guy. It's like, I had a 67 Belvedere too, was a land yacht, but I loved it. And then the mid-80s, I had a mid-80s Buick Riviera, small engine, but had like velour interior, and I just loved it. So, there's a couple cars that I've had over the years that I really wish I kept, but those have got to be my top three.
Yeah, they sound like cool ones. Well, I want to talk a little bit about what has you excited and fired up right now with your business, Airkooled Kustoms, but also touch real quickly on this new book that you've done. You've sent me a copy, which is really cool. I'm going to do a book giveaway from one of my subscription followers here. So if you haven't subscribed to me on carsyeah.com, go there, click on the free book button. I'll send you my free filler up book. The book is titled How to Restore Your Volkswagen Beetle. So what prompted you to write a book? Well, we were actually approached by the publisher, which is CarTech. They're our friends at CarTech. Great people.
Good people. Yeah, one of their editors contacted us with the opportunity to go ahead and write the book. And my chief content officer is actually a writer by trade. So she works for me part-time, or works for the company part-time, but she also maintains, her own writing career. And she's quite successful at it. And she kind of looked at it and she goes, do you have a whole bunch of pictures? And I said, I've got a whole bunch of pictures. She goes, well, I've got some words. You don't mind being grilled? And I says, I don't mind being grilled. After we wrote the book, we had submitted everything. And those of you who have done books know if you're working with an editor, you've got timelines, you've got word counts, you've got page counts, you've got photographic counts, there's a whole set of parameters that you've got to do in a block of time. So I think ours was split up into quarters, and we went ahead and did all that in quarters. So we got down to the last one. They were sending us checks. We were doing just fine. A few changes here and there from the editor. So we thought we were good and golden. Got down to the last submission, and I guess then the editor actually read the rest of the book. Needless to say, we actually had to rewrite the book again.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Ouch.
So we actually wrote this book twice. So,
wow. That means it's really good.
It is really good. In fact, the copy you're going to be giving away from one of your subscribers is actually an autographed copy, and it's a first edition.
There you go.
It's been autographed by myself and Miss Anderson, who are the two primary authors on it. And somebody asked me, it's like, would you write another book? I kind of thought about it, and then about a week later, Cartech again offers us another book. And I says, well, what's the subject? And he says, well, we want to do one on buses. And I'm sorry, we don't have any buses in schedule. It takes us about a year to do a vehicle. And since we're photographing as we go, I've got to work off of that stuff. So we'll let you know when a bus comes in. And I said, okay, no problem. 2 weeks go by. I don't think too much of it. The editors contact us again. Do you want to do another book? And I said, well, we don't have a bus yet. He said, no, we want to do one on a customization of a VW, because there's nothing like that on the market. And I went, okay, that can be kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
So we're about a quarter of the way through that book, and that should actually be released next year. And then the bus book should be the year after that.
Nice, very nice. Well, I had Wes Eisenchank, who was at Cartech Books. He was the acquisitions editor back in 2017.
That's our editor.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. He's been a guest on my show. there you go. So yeah, you can go back and watch or listen to, I should say, his show. I was starting to think about my TV show here. You can't watch podcasts. You can watch Cars Yeah TV. He was guest number 773. But again, I'm going to remind you listeners that one lucky subscriber to the Cars Yeah website is going to win a copy of this, autographed copy of this book. So I'll send it out to you. So just go to carsyeah.com, click on the free book button, and it will be there for you. Very exciting, very cool stuff. Well, Spook, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsors. Hey, Cars Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Covercraft. I've protected my vehicles with their products for decades. Want to keep your vehicle's interior looking new? It's easy with Covercraft seat covers. They'll protect your seats from the daily abuse of pets, children, weekend adventures, and even those everyday spills. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. All Covercraft seat covers are easy on, easy off design that are machine washable. You can choose from many fabric options, colors, and accessories, all designed and carefully sewn for your special vehicles. Their seat gloves are semi-custom fit for cars and trucks, and their seat savers, a favorite of mine, are custom tailored to fit your seats like a glove. Work truck seat covers are tough, durable, denim weight fabric. It's like putting a pair of rugged jeans on your truck's seats. Want to stay warm? Covercraft also offers seat heaters. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. That's covercraft.com. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. All right, Spook, we're back. And I have a very introspective question for you. But before I ask you this, I'm going to put you on the analyst couch. But I tell you what, before I ask you, where the heck did you get the name Spook?
Oh, Lord. I've actually gotten that nickname 3 times in my lifespan from 3 different geographical locations from 3 different subsectors of the culture, if that makes any sense. Yes. And I have a feeling it has something to do with just because I'm not quite your normal dude. I'm a little off. I'm a bit of a character from what I've been told.
Okay.
First time around, I actually grew up in California, as you mentioned, and growing up in California was a very diverse area. I grew up in the Bay Area primarily. I was born in Southern California, but then my father being in the Navy, we went up into the Bay Area so he could work at Mare Island when they were decommissioning that. So us being in Vallejo, I had a group of friends that were black, white, Hispanic. Well, I think back then they were Latino. I don't know what the correct is anymore. We had some Vietnamese people, and so I ran with a very diverse group, and it didn't really matter. Everybody was friends. We were all jumping BMX bikes over each other's head, and, all of those dangerous stuff that you're not supposed to be doing. So we had a new group of kids that came in on the next year. A group of African American kids had come in and, just trying to bolster their own little thing up. And it was known that my father was a police officer, so they thought that they could kind of bully me a little bit. And so they said, hey, we'll call the white kid Spook. They thought it was absolutely hilarious. Go ahead and flip around derogatory comment that they had been called when, I guess they came from Philadelphia. They were called Spooks or something. And I went home and I was really broken up about it. And my dad actually pulled me aside and says, that's more on them, but if you own it, they can't damage you with it. And it's like, that stuck with me for a long time. So it's just like, I own that. So no longer could that be used against me, or to hurt me. And then the second time in my life, I was up in the Dakotas, and I was a lead framer and carpentry guy for a fairly large construction firm. And we had a bunch of Lakotan workers out there. And I have this unique visual perception that I can see stuff in 3D before it's there. And so I'd get a set of blueprints out and I said, okay, boom, 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 boom. And I don't know if you know anything about construction or anything like that, or if your listeners do or even care, but I'm one of these guys that you give me a set of measurements between the top of the roof and where the wall sits, and then tell me, and then I'll figure out pitch the roof. I'll do the cuts on the ground. You just kick them up. And the guys are kind of looking at me like there's no calculator involved. There's no tape measure involved. I'm literally doing calculations in my head. Being a dyslexic, it's kind of interesting. I'll screw up once in a while, but for the most part, I'll get it right. And so I was looking down a wall one time on an apartment complex we were doing, and I says, okay, go down 15 feet, go to the second stud, you're out of 16th there, make a mark. And I did this, just doing the line visual. And this old guy, he must have been in his 70s, kind of looked at me, and all of the guys after that ended up calling me Spook. And then the third time is when I actually retired to come do the shop. I can see things that aren't there yet, if that makes any sense, or if something's missing or something's not quite right. And so one of my first employees who didn't know me as Spook just started calling me Spook. He says, because what you do is just really, really spooky. I figured after 3 times in my life, we might as well make a go of it. And now I would actually bet most of the people who know me within the VW community and within the car community don't know me as Eric. They know me as Spook. It's just one of those things that it's a great marketing nomenclature, because are you going to remember a Volkswagen restorer in the middle of Alabama named Eric? Or are you going to remember a guy named Spook in the middle of Alabama that does VWs and Porsches?
Of course. We'll always remember Spook. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Well, let's get back to my original question. That is a very introspective one. If you were a vehicle, if you woke up tomorrow as a vehicle, what would Spook be and why?
Oh, my word. Probably, that's a tough one. If I were to be a vehicle, probably a heavy hauler on airbags. And
a heavy crawler on airbags?
Heavy hauler. So
hauler. Okay.
Yeah, like a rollback.
Okay.
with a 49 through 55 Chevy GMC cab, big Cummins turbo diesel in it, and it lays frame. Rusty and crusty on the outside. Most of the internals are working good, and it looks cool as hell, whether it's flying down the road or sitting at a car show.
Very nice. Nice answer. I knew I'd get something creative from you on that one. Very cool. All right, Spook, we are entering the last lap. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some very quick blips of that heavy holler throttle. So here we go. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Finesse, not force.
I like that. Will you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes?
Consistency.
Tenacity, consistency, persistence, all keys I've heard over and over here.
It's all the same thing.
All the same thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. I love it. Now, how about a resource? There are some great resources these days. Would you recommend one to me?
Well, besides your podcast and television show.
Well, thank you.
Obviously, you got to do that one.
Well, thanks.
Probably, within the VW community, I'm actually going to suggest the Samba. The owner over there at Everett, it's an old PPS board that's like not flashy and kind of old and out of date, but it's got some of the best resources that I've ever seen for a VW community and Porsche community.
Yeah, it's a great one.
That would be one that, and then the original how to keep your VW alive forever, the mirror book, that would be the other resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Great resources. Absolutely. Now, if I could arrange for you to sit down and have a drink with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would that be?
Oh, Henry Ford.
That's the most common answer to that question. I know why, because, you just think about what that guy pulled off back in the day. He didn't even have electricity. He had to go build his own power plant to run his facility. Pretty incredible.
And he also was the ultimate recycler. He took the boxes, the crates of the parts that were coming from the Dodge brothers and then built them into the car. And then any of scrap went into charcoal production, which is where now you have charcoal. So it's just like that entrepreneurship, either that or Tesla, but I don't think he was a car guy.
And now how about a book? Obviously, your new book, How to Restore Your Volkswagen Beetle, which is an awesome new book by Partech. Is there another book you'd like to recommend?
Yes and no. It's more philosophy than, and it's not even philosophy. It's a story. Ayn Rand. I know that. Yeah. Every time I read that book, and she's got many books, but we both know which one we're talking about. Her most popular one that did a movie not too long ago. For the life of me, forgetting what the title is, but Atlas Shrugged. And then the reason is because every time I read it, I pick up something different in it. It's like a different book every couple of years, and it touches on different things depending on the philosophy of your own brain and your own learning, and how much you're willing to accept and or learn. So it changes as you go. And then the second one, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the entire series. Answer 42, that's a way deeper number than a lot of people even understand. And I'm not a numerology guy. I just, it's one of my favorite for a relaxing book.
Did you read Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Great books. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. All right, we are up to the checkered flag here, and this last question can be a bit of a doozy. Today I'm going to buy you any cool collector car on the planet. Doesn't matter where it is or who it belongs to. I'm going to park it in your garage, but there are some rules to this game that make it a little bit of a challenge. Still probably expensive for me, but still a little bit of a challenge for you. You can't sell it to buy a bunch of other toys with. You have to drive it. No garage queens allowed here at Cars Yeah, but it's the only collector car you can own. So choose wisely, my friend.
356A.
Oh, you figured it out already. So we're talking about a Porsche, obviously.
Early Porsche.
Yeah. Do you want, is it going back to like a bent window?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's actually, the Pre-A's are the ones I really love. They came out with 40 horsepower engines, and this is before they really got into high horsepower, but this was like, that's the ultimate collector car for me, I think.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Well, yeah, that is going to cost me a pretty penny because those things have really gone up in value.
Find one.
Yeah, exactly. I actually know a few people that have some of those cars, so I think there's a couple of places you can go to find one. I had the Ingrams, Cam and his father Robert on this show, and they've got one of those. They've got a beautiful collection of Porsches, so I could find one there. And there's a couple other folks out there that can get their hands on some. Now, do you want it all stock, or do you want to do like a Rod Emery or a John Wilhoit customization?
I would love to do an outlaw Emery style. He is one of the most awesome designers that I've ever met in my life, and I have met him. He is so brilliant at what he does, and he's got this vision, and nothing ever stops him. At least, from what I've in talking with him and watching his media and seeing his builds, and it's like the last one he put out. I saw it SEMA 2 years ago, and it's just like it blew me away. So
that car are you talking about the 356 RSR that he took to Luftgekühlt? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little secret here. Give you a little scoop. Season 2, Cars Yeah TV. We just agreed to do season 2 for Cars Yeah TV, and one of my guests is going to be Rod Emery. And I went to his shop. We shot the episode already. I got to drive an Outlaw 356. I will never drive a stock 356 anymore after driving that thing. But we did get to sit in and play with that 356 RSR that he built for Momo, of which I've had the owner of Momo on this show as well. But he does some amazing cars and builds. And of course, I got to toss in John Wilhoit because I bought a car from him. He does some incredible builds and restorations on 356 cars. So I think I'll have no problems finding you a pre-8-bit window. If
you get a chance to do another TV interview down over with Mr. Emery, I would love to be your guest over there and just sit in and watch because that man is amazing.
Yeah, he was a fun guy to spend a day with. We went to his shop down there in Los Angeles and got to play with his cars and see how he does things. Amazing guy. You can go back, listeners, and find my talk with Rod Emery on the Cars Yeah website. Just go back and type in his name in the search bar. That'll pop up. Well, Spook, you've taken me on a great ride today, buddy. I knew this would be fun. I want to thank you for sharing your journey. Could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you rip off into the sunset in that old 356 Porsche?
One of the lessons that my father taught me, and it's stuck with me 40 plus years. Don't be afraid to mess up. And when you do it all the way. So if you're going to might have to edit this, you might be able to let this go, but the direct quote is never do anything half-ass, always do it full-ass.
There you go. I think we can keep that one in. I like that very, very much. Yeah, you can do something wrong and have to redo it many, many times, but do it the right way the first time. How can people learn more about you at Airkooled Kustoms, and how can they get their hands on a copy of your book?
They can actually contact us on our website, which is www.airkooledkustoms.com. That's AirKooledKustoms.com. And there's a link on our website. In order to purchase a book, you can purchase it through Amazon. You can purchase it from CarTech directly. I think Barnes & Noble is also carrying it. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do the Facebook thing. We do the Twitter thing. We do Instagram, and we do a couple other social medias that my staff doesn't tell me about. Because I probably don't want to know and I wouldn't understand.
There you go. Well, I'll put links to all these on his Cars Yeah show notes page so you can get your hands on this. And of course, one lucky Cars Yeah subscriber is going to win an autographed signed copy of this from me and from Eric. So I'll make sure I send that to you. But first, you've got to go to the Cars Yeah website and click on the free book button. I'll send you my free filler up book and your name will be in the hat. Spook, thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your many experiences with me and the listeners. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening.
You're welcome. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!